Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of JRNI Coaching.
We're super passionate about all things coaching and want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training over 1,000 life coaches.
Dive deep into a more meaningful career, find freedom, and make an impact on the world around you.
On today's episode, we're going to discuss how belief systems impact our clients. Noelle, good morning.
Hello.
I love that we do these in the morning.
Yes.
Because I always say Noelle, good morning. And when I say that, I feel like, you know what, it's a new day. We're having this conversation fresh. We both have coffee. I hope one day it's not going to be, hey, Noelle, good evening, because then you'll feel the energy be very different.
We'll be tired.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be tired. We're already old. Let's not push it.
So let's talk about belief systems and how they impact us.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason that we're talking about this is to speak directly to all of our coaches out there and all of our coach trainers out there and all of our aspiring coaches, because right now in 2021, everybody, all of us are having our belief systems challenged and it's freaking us out.
Yeah. I always say the pandemic has shaken our life etch-a-sketch. And I think, I think all of our beliefs or what we thought, at least it's being questioned, right? And I think that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It can be a good thing, and it really depends. So let's get into it. What are belief systems? These are principles that guide people through their everyday lives. It's an ideology. It's a set of facts that help us interpret our reality. And oftentimes, these things are codified in really big structures that somebody taught us along the way, or that we chose to associate with, like religion or political affiliation or spirituality. These are big, huge blocks.
How much of our belief systems are unconscious, do you think?
Probably many, because thinking about our little brains, we only take in a small fraction of the amount of information consciously that actually goes into our brain every day. And so many of our belief systems are developed randomly by the randomness of our life experience, where we happen to live, where we happen to be born, the body that we happen to be born into, the family that we happen to be born into. So in a lot of this, there isn't a lot of choice and free will at the outset around how belief systems are developed. But as adults, or as children turn into young adults and then adults, we do get to have more choice over our belief systems.
Yeah, and I think it's not just how we see the world. It's not just where we place value and all that, but belief systems, especially with coaching, I think can leak into the room where our approach is different based on our belief system. So we have to be very aware of that and how it's impacting the session.
Oh yes. So let's start with the client side of things and break it down so that as coaches we can be aware of how our clients are experiencing belief systems, and then let's pull the lens back and see what we need to do about it as coaches, because we're human too.
Right.
We have the same ideologies that were handed to us that we didn't get much choice in. So really easy examples of belief systems are religion and politics, period. Yeah. So we'll just leave it there and step away.
Yeah, because those are very heated topics.
Yes, and that's really important. Belief systems inevitably lead to heated topics. And there are different factors that shape the way someone might relate to a belief system. And those factors are the level of knowledge that you have on a certain topic, the way that you were raised, or peer pressure from others that you experienced to conform to a certain belief system, or the convictions that come from concepts of right and wrong, proper an improper, this is the way we do things, this is the way we don't do things. Give individuals a roadmap in order to make sense of the world and to define their own role within it.
What happens in a session, you think, if you're not actively aware of your belief system, or how it collides with your client's belief system? If you're not actively aware of that, and making sure that you're not coming from a judgmental, controlling place, what do you think happens?
Explosions,
Yeah,
dumpster fires, chaos, anger,
yeah.
strife, disappointment, sadness, all of the things that happen in everyday life that we see um, on a regular basis, whether we're looking at the comments section on social media, or people who bump into each other in a grocery store that both happen to be in a bad mood when there's not awareness or self-awareness, and people are bumping into each other with different ideologies and different belief systems. It causes chaos,
Hmm.
and we're seeing that in really high levels right now. So as helping professionals, we need to reel it in and get hyper focused on the interplay so that we can be of service.
Yeah. So let's get into the action steps.
Yeah. So, first up, coach and client move through the work of gaining awareness in order to move forward. And what's happening right now in real time is that so many people are having their belief systems challenged, and they're bringing that to the space of coaching.
Mm.
It's happening all over the place. It's happening, with my own clients. John, are you seeing this happening in your friend group with clients? Do you have any awareness of this going on for folks in your world?
Yeah, and it makes sense because there's such a shakeup in the world that there's room for a lot of opinions, which is great. But if you're a coach, you now have an opportunity to put those opinions on on other people. So whether you're aware of it or not, that's a very it's a sensitive space, but it's also it could be a very powerful space, and you could also be irresponsible with that space.
Yeah. So let's talk about how it works and how it goes down. And I'm going to use an example that's really common right now. So there's a think tank in Great Britain called Well To Do, and they put out a study in 2020 that said that the general public in Western society held more trust in corporations and corporate leaders than in government and religious sectors. So that's pretty astounding. And then that entire basis of trust got completely dismantled by 2021. And as the pandemic raged on, people stopped trusting their employers.
Mm.
And now we have the great resignation. So this is just one example collectively of a situation at hand where a mass number of people have had a pretty serious shift in their belief system. Their belief system has been challenged.
How do you know how much of your belief system you should express and kind of champion, and then how much of it is something you should kind of keep inside?
Well, when you're not in session, if you'd like to signal to the outside world, who are you? That's 100% appropriate.
Hmm.
When you are in session with a client, your personal belief system needs to go on lock,
Right.
because that session has nothing to do with your personal belief system and what your client might be going through and what your client might be experiencing is this, coming of age with awareness. And we can't, we're not cognitively capable of A, knowing where somebody's going to go with it, or B, making any sense of rightness or wrongness, and C, our own experience of rightness has no place in a coaching session.
Yeah, and I think because of social media and now everyone has their own megaphone, they're getting used to, um, you know, uh, uh, showcasing their belief system, preaching, and all of that using social media. So then, once they're in the coaching space, they have to, it's going to be harder for them to not wear that hat.
Yeah. So this is where coach training comes into play, because what we're talking about is based on the ICF, International Coaching Federation, global standards for the discipline. And that comes down to coaching mindset, where you learn how to identify your own trigger points as they're happening in session. Note them and say, oh, I'm getting triggered right now. This is my thing. And I need to put it aside until after session so that I can reflect on it. And you turn your dial back to holding space.
Yeah. And this is why, if you want to pursue coaching, coach training is so important. It's things like this that you may not think about, and you're out there taking on clients. And if you don't have any training, there's a high chance your belief system and a lot of shoulds are going to be rippling into your sessions. And it's not responsible and it's not healthy.
Yeah. So another really important factor here, in dealing with folks when their belief system is challenged, whether it's yourself or whether it's a client, is that the most common response, and I want to validate a normal, acceptable response, is anger.
Yeah.
And the coaches need to be prepared for that. Another thing that we learn in coach training is that when clients show up to the space of coaching with really big feelings like anger or fear or regret, we don't want to back away from them. We don't want to dismiss them. We want to hold space for them and let our clients feel those feelings, because they need to move through that experience in order to get to a space where they can look towards the future.
Yeah, I think the new coach, one of the biggest mistakes is when they have a client who is feeling angry. It scares the coach, and they try to convince the client they're not angry
Oh, yes.
instead of allowing them to be angry and supporting that. And holding that space can be hard.
It is. And
Yeah.
it actually has a term in coach training. It's called clearing and venting. And so when that happens, mental note for the coach out there, okay, my client is clearing and venting. I need to let them do this for an appropriate amount of time and then check in to see if they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another point that I think is really important to explore when we're dealing this, because I think just letting someone clear and vent the anger is a very incomplete part of the process of dealing with a shift or a challenge to your belief system. And that's the what's next. What happens after someone has had a really big seismic challenge to the way that they see the world? And the answer is we don't know at all. We can't know. We cannot direct our client in any way. And the standard here for coaches is to move at the pace of the client. We move at the pace of the learner. So not everyone's going to be ready to look on the other side of that anger right away. And we need to check in to see if they're ready to start exploring and maybe develop a little plan for what that exploration could even look like.
Well, thank you for this conversation about belief systems. And if you're listening to this, and at the minimum, hopefully it's a reminder of how what we believe impact other people, especially if you're in the business of coaching.
Yes. Yes. And I want to really encourage everyone to be gentle with yourself and gentle with others. At this point, I make the assumption that every single person I encounter is on the verge of tears, and that I know nothing about their inner journey.
Right.
And we're just a big human family, and the only way out is through.
Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to journey.co/everything to explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a strong community to do it in. We created JRNI Coaching to equip you with the tools, training, and community you need to attain your goals.
Join JRNI Coaching and begin your journey towards personal freedom and a transformative state of growth today. That's JRNI.co/everything.